Good morning. Welcome to VANIK on our regular current affairs discussion. Let's start with the topic. So, the very first topic that we'll be taking today is about this facial recognition technology used by the police, especially Delhi police. Okay. So, this is about the FRT, facial recognition technology system, which is being used by the police in Delhi and at other places also, and why it was in new because the RTI responses received by the Internet Freedom Foundation, a New Delhi based digital right organization, revealed that the Delhi police treat matches of the above 80% similarity generated by its facial recognition technology system as positive results. Why it was in news and what the news is. The Delhi police has obtained the facial recognition technology for the purpose of tracing and identifying missing children. Initially, Delhi police used the technology FRT, facial recognition technology. So why it was used first? It was used to obtain the this FTR for tracing and identifying missing children. According to RTI responses received from the Delhi police, the procurement is authorized as per the 2018 direction of the Delhi High Court in the Sadhan Haldar versus NTC Delhi. However, in 2018 itself, the Delhi police submitted in the High Court that the accuracy of the technology procured by them is only 2% and not good. That means the facial recognition technology used by the Delhi police, which was initially used by it, recognize missing children. So the report given to the High Court by the Delhi police revealed that it was accurate only up to 2%. So it is not good because only accuracy level is 2%. Things to get done after the multiple reports came out that Delhi police was using this technology to surveillance and anti-citizenship amendment act protest that took place in Delhi in 2019. There is massive protest against the citizenship amendment act uh, in Delhi in 2019, and Delhi police utilize this particular technology, this facial recognition technology, on the demonstrators widely in 2019. In 2020, the Delhi police stated in an RTI response that though the obtained FRT as per the Sadhan Haldar direction, which related specifically to finding missing children, they are using this technology for police investigation also. Although initially they have the permission to use this technology for the missing children cases, but the Delhi police subsequently revealed that it is using this technology for other investigation purposes. Fine. That means that this technology is being wider used by the Delhi police beyond the missing children case. The widening of this purpose of this FRT use clearly demonstrates an instance of function creep. Okay, what is this function creep? Wherein a technology or system gradually widens its scope from its original purpose to encompass and fulfill wider function. Because initially it was obtained for recognition of the missing children, but because in subsequent period the Delhi police used this technology for investigation purposes in other cases. So this is particularly known as what it is called as function creep. Fine. So technology system gradually widens its scope from original purpose. It is called function creep. The Delhi police has consequently used FRT for investigation purposes and also specifically during the 2020 Northeast Delhi riots, 2021 Red Fort violence, and in 2022 Jahangirpur riots. That means instances where Delhi police recognized that starting from the CAA agitation in 2019 to Northeast Delhi riots in 2020, Red Fort violence by the farmer agitators in 2021 and the 2022 Jahangirpur riots. This technology was used by the Delhi police. Facial recognition is an algorithm-based technology which creates a digital map of the face by identifying and mapping an individual's facial features, which it then matches against the database to which it has access. So in this technology, so they collect a facial photograph of the person, reconstruct it and match it with the its own criminal database, what it has with itself. And if it matches up to 80%, then it is taken positively. Okay, so facial recognition is an algorithm-based technology, right? So it can be used for two purposes. Firstly, so one-to-one verification of identity, wherein the facial map is obtained for the purpose of matching it against the person's photograph on a database to authenticate their identity. For example, one-to-one verification is used to unlock phones. However, increasingly, it is being used to provide access to any benefits or government schemes. That is also being used. Fine. So, beyond its own original intention, this is being used again. Second, there is the one to others identification of identity, where the facial map is obtained from the phone photograph or video and then match against the entire n number 1 to n is n number entire database to identify the persons. So one is 1 to 1 and 1 to n. Okay, n means n number. Okay, and the person in photograph or video. Law enforcement agencies such as the Delhi police usually procure FRT for 1 to n. Traditional जीके टेस्ट नमिता ओएस प्रिलिमिनरी जीके टेस्ट है तुम फिलो. Okay, so that is what. Okay, 1 to n is more frequently being used because n number of it is compared with n number of variables. Okay, and this helps the police in identifying the that rioters or other agitators who are demonstrating against the government in different periods. However, ultimately, so it is a human analyst who select the final probable matches from the list. Fine. So list of matches generated by the FRT according to Internet Freedom Foundation project Anoptic, which track the spread of FRT in India. There are at least 124 government authorized FRT projects in the country. That means, so although it was initially procured or accepted for a specific purpose to only to recognize the missing children, but in subsequent period, government started using this particular technology for a host of activity for which it was originally not mandated. The original mandate is for something else, but in subsequent period, this mandate was expanded to include other domain under it. Fine. Why is this use of FRT harmful? India has seen the rapid deployment of FRT in recent years, both by the union and state governments, without putting in place any law to regulate its use. So, for this technology to be used, especially in the criminal system, okay, criminal technical system. So, especially it is recommended that some specific acts are to be passed by the parliament or the state assembly before this is widely used, but without passing any such legislation or authorization. Okay, so this is being expanded and the technology is being used and overused by the central police and the state police in both way without any broad-based mandate for its use authorized by the lawmaking body in the country. That's why it was little controversial. Okay, so moving further, the use of F30 presents two issues. First, issue related to misidentification due to inaccuracy of the technology. Extensive research into the technology has revealed that its accuracy rate falls directly based on race and gender. This can result in a false positive where a person is misidentified as someone else, or a false negative where a person not verified as themselves. Case of false positive results can lead to bias against the individual who has been misidentified. In 2018, the American Civil Liberty Union. Okay, so this technology is not only used in India, this technology also used worldwide. Okay, normally this technology is developed in foreign country, and we have taken this technology from abroad. So when it was used in America, so there is instances of its misuse. Okay, and to cite some such cases, you can say in this particular case which is being discussed right now. So what this case is, so uh, in 28, American Civil Liberty Union revealed that Amazon facial recognition technology recognition incorrectly identified 28 members of Congress as people who have been arrested for crime. Of the 28, a disclosed number were people of color. Also in 2018, researcher Joy Bulwani and Timit Gebru found that facial recognition system has higher error rates while identifying women and people in color, with the error rate being the highest while identifying women of color. So these technologies used also vary from color to color. Okay, that means it is not a foolproof technology in which was used in a country like USA. The use of this technology by law enforcement authority has already led to three people in the USA being wrongfully arrested. Okay, see, so how even the US failed to identify properly and arrested people wrongfully. Okay, although they are not involved. Fine. On the other hand, cases of false negative result can lead to exclusion of individual from accessing essential schemes, which may use a fatal means of providing access. One example of such exclusion is the failure of the biometric based authentication under Aadhaar, which has led to many people being excluded from receiving essential government services, which in turn has led to um, starvation deaths. Right. So this is how see how the technology is misused, and there are proofs that how this technology was misused even not only in India but even the country of its origin. Second, issue related to mass surveillance due to misuse of the technology. However, even if accurate, this technology can result in irreversible harm as it can be used as a tool to facilitate state-sponsored mass surveillance. At present, India does not have any data protection law or a FRT-specific regulation to protect. Fine. So that is what. So, however, even if accurate, so the technology can result in irreversible harm as it can be used to as a tool to facilitate state-sponsored mass surveillance. At present, India doesn't have a data protection law or the FRT specific regulation to protect against misuse. In such a legal vacuum, there are no safeguards to ensure that authority use FRT only for the purposes that they have been authorized to, as is the case with the Delhi police. A fact can enable the constant surveillance of an individual, resulting in a violation of their fundamental rights to privacy. Fine. So then why did the 2022 RTI responses by Delhi police reveal? So what it revealed, the RTI responses dated to July 2022. Okay, so this year, so in July 2022, there is an RTI query on this this use of this facial recognition technology. Okay, for Internet Freedom Foundation filed an appeal before the Central Information Commission for obtaining the information after being denied multiple times by the Delhi police. In their response, the Delhi police has revealed that matches above 80% similarity are treated as positive results, while matches below 80% similarity are treated as false positive result, which require additional corroborative evidence. Okay, so that means if the match is above 80%, then it is taken as positive, and but if the match is less than 80%, then it is taken as negative, and there is corroborative evidences to be collected for substantiating the issue. It is unclear why 80% has been chosen at the threshold between positive and false positive. There is no justification provided to support the Delhi police assertion that an above 80% match is sufficient to assume the result as correct. Secondly, the categorization of below 80% result as false positive instead of negative shows that the Delhi police may still further investigate below 80% result. Thus, people who share familiar face features, such as in extended families or communities, could end up being targeted. This could result in targeting of community who have been historically overpoliced and have faced discrimination at the hand of law enforcement authorities. That is what the possibility of misuse. Okay. The response also mentioned that Delhi police is matching the photograph videos against photographs collected under Section 3 and 4 of the Identification of Prisoners Act 1920, which has now been replaced by the Criminal Procedure Act 2022. This act allows for wider categories of data to be collected from a wider section of people, conviction other persons for the purpose of identification and investigation of criminal matters. It is feared that the act will lead to overbroad collection of personal data in violation of internationally recognized best practices for the collection and processing of data. This revelation raises multiple concerns. The use of facial recognition can lead to wrongful arrest and mass surveillance resulting in privacy violations. Delhi is not only a city where such reference is going on, multiple cities including Kolkata, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Lucknow are rolling out safe city program which implement surveillance infrastructure to reduce gender-based violence. In the absence of any regulatory legal framework which would act as a safeguard. So there is a possibility of this technology being misused. Fine. So the next topic that we intend to take is very important topic about the cloud burst. The recent past, there are instances of cloud burst. Okay, over 20 people have been killed in destruction caused by the cloud burst and flash flood in different parts of Madhya Pradesh and Uttarakhand for the last 3 days. Isolated areas in these two states have reported heavy rainfall during this time, triggering landslides and flash floods that have disrupted rail and road traffic and resulted in house and wall collapse. What is cloud burst? A cloud burst is a localized but intense rainfall activity. Short spell of very heavy rainfall over a small geographical area can cause widespread destruction, especially in hilly regions where this phenomenon is most common. Not all instances of very heavy rainfall are called cloudburst. A cloudburst has a very specific definition. Rainfall of 10 cm or more in an hour over a roughly 10 km into 10 km area is classified as a cloudburst event. By this definition, 5 cm of rainfall in half-hour period over the same area could also be categorized as a cloudburst. So, specific definition: 10 cm of rainfall or more in an hour over a roughly 10 km to 10 km area is called as cloudburst. And half, if this definition, by this definition, 5 cm rainfall in a half-hour period over the same area could also be categorized as a cloudburst. To put this in perspective, in a normal year, India as a whole receive about 116 cm rainfall over the entire year. This means the entire rainfall everywhere in India during a year was spread evenly over its area. The total accumulated water would be 116 cm high. There are of course huge geographical variation in rainfall within the country, and some area receive over 110 times more than the amount in the year. But on average, any place in India can be expected to receive about 116 cm of rainfall in a year. Okay. During a cloud burst, a place receive about 10% of this annual rainfall, within an hour. Because in an hour, 116 cm of rainfall is received in a particular area. But if so, 10% of that is received within an hour. This is called cloudburst. It is a worse situation that what Mumbai has experienced in July 26th, 2005, which is one of the most extreme instance for rainfall in India in recent years. At that time, Mumbai have received 95 cm of rainfall over 24 hours period, resulting in the death of around 400 people and more than 1 USD billion economic losses. See, 94 cm rainfall over 1 day or 24 hours period. Whereas on an average it is called 116 cm rainfall throughout the year. And see, so that a substantial part of that 94 cm is received within 24 hours. It's too difficult to handle the situation. How common are cloudbursts? Cloudbursts are not uncommon events, particularly in the monsoon month. Most of these happens in the Himalayan states where the local topology, wind system and the temperature gradients between the lower and upper atmosphere facilitate the occur of such events. Normally these have took place in the Himalayan region, okay, in the high regions, okay, in the Himalayan states because of the rising atmospheric conditions and the air mass. However, not every event that is described as cloudburst is actually by definition a cloudburst. That is because these events are highly localized. They take place in very small area which are often devoid of rainfall measuring instruments. The consequence of these events, however, are not confined to the small areas because of the nature of terrain. The heavy rainfall events often trigger landslides and flash floods, causing extensive destruction downstream. This is the reason why every sudden downpour that leads to destruction of life and property in the hilly areas, okay, get described as cloudburst, irrespective of whether the amount of rainfall meets the definition criteria, that is 10% of the annual rainfall in 24 hours. At the same time, it is also possible that actual cloudburst events in remote locations are not recorded because there is no measurement instrument available there. Cloud must be forecasted. The Indian Meteorological Department (IMD) forecast rainfall events well in advance, but it does not predict the quantum of rainfall. In fact, no meteorological agency does this. The factors that can be brought about light, heavy, or heavy rainfall, but whether scientists do not have the capability to predict exactly how much rain is likely to fall at any given place. This is not yet possible. Okay. Additionally, the forecasts are for a relatively large geographical area, usually a region, a state, a meteorological subdivision, or at best a district. As they zoom in over small area, the forecast get more and more uncertain. Therefore, it is not impossible to forecast rainfall over a very small area as well, but it requires a very dense network of weather instruments and computing capability that seem unfeasible with current technology. As a result, specific cloudburst events cannot be forecast. No forecast ever mentions a possibility of a cloudburst, but there are warnings for heavy to heavy rainfall events, and there are routinely forecast 4 to 5 days in advance. Possibility of extremely heavy rainfall, which could result in cloudburst kind of situation, are forecasted 6 to 12 hours in advance. That is why it is very difficult to evacuate the people from the area because very less time is available for the evacuation purposes. Are cloudburst incident increasing? There is no long-term trend that suggests that cloudburst as defined by IMD are rising, but it's well established, however, is that incident of extreme rainfall as also other extreme weather events are increasing, not just in India but across the world. While the overall amount of rainfall in India has not changed substantially, an increasing proportion of rainfall is happening in a short span of time. That means what the wet spell are very wet and are interspread with prolonged dry spells even in the rainy season. This kind of pattern attributed to climate change does not suggest that cloudburst events might also be on the rise. That means incident of cloudburst are more on the rise right now due to climate change. Not only in India, recently you might have seen the same thing in UAE. The desert area of UAE are flooded by the cloud burst. Okay, so Mumbai flooded, Chennai flooded, Delhi flooded, Bangalore flooded. So and many in that Himalayan states and northeastern area, there are instances of cloud burst. Okay, in recent past. Huh. Okay, then moving to the next topic, the controversy around Nepal's new citizenship law. Okay, so in August 16, Nepal President Vidyadevi Bhandari sent back the Citizenship Amendment Act 2006 to the Pratinidhi Sabha, or House of Representatives, the lower house of the Nepal Parliament, urging the members to reconsider the act ahead of the election session. This clash between the president and the Pratinidhi Sabha has ignited a headache debate over the question of citizenship in Nepal. What is the issue of citizenship in Nepal about? Nepal transitioned into a democracy beginning with the fall of monarchy in 2006 and the subsequent election of the Maoist government in 2008. The emergence of the multi-party system was followed by the adoption of a constitution in September 2015 after much deliberation. Nepal adopted a new constitution. All Nepali citizens born before this date got natural citizenship, but their children remained without citizenship, and that was to be guided by the federal law, which has not yet been framed. This Amendment Act is expected to pave the way for citizenship for many such stateless youth as well as their parents. But the provisions are what is the issue with that? The main criticism against the Citizenship Amendment Act 2006 is that it goes against established parameter of gender justice. A cursory reading also reveals contradictions among various sections of the law. According to Article 11(2)(b), a person born to a father or mother with Nepal citizenship can get citizenship by descent. Okay, see, a person born to a father or a mother with Nepal citizenship can get citizenship by descent. Article 11 5 of the Constitution say a person who is born to a Nepali mother who has lived in the country and an unidentified father will get citizenship by descent. But this section appears humiliating for a mother as she has to declare that her husband is unidentified for the child to be eligible for citizenship. In case the Nepali father, such declaration are not required. In case it is a Nepali mother, so he has to declare that her husband is unidentified. Article 11(7), we said that a child born to a Nepali mother and a father holding a foreign citizenship can get natural citizenship in accordance with the law of Nepal appears to contradict Article 11(2)(b). It places a condition of permanent residency on the mother, which will determine the grant of citizenship to the child. So, permanent residency on the mother. See the discrepancies in the law. Okay, so this is tilted against the women. Okay, why the president refused to sign the act? Mrs. Bhandari, the first female president of Nepal, a refusal to sign the act has drawn attention to certain sections in the constitution that thrust greater responsibility on women. For example, Article 11(5) says that a person who is born to Nepali mother and an unidentified father can be granted citizenship by descent. Next, it says that in case the unidentified father turned out to be foreigner, the citizenship by descent could be converted to natural citizenship. Furthermore, it supports punitive action against the mother if the father is found later. Fine. That is what. So there is a controversy. Why has the amendment been framed thus? Then on articulated concern in the orthodox section of the country that a Nepali men, particularly from the Tarai region is the border of India, okay, where the Madhesi are staying, okay. Tarai region is the India-Nepal border region, and here it is the Madhesi population, okay, Madhesi of Indian origin, so who are staying over in the Tarai region, okay, so of Nepal. From the Tarai region, continue to marry women from the northeastern India. Nepali identity would be undermined because this Beti Roti, Nepali men marrying Indian women, issue many women could not become citizens of Nepal as they were subjected to infamous 7 year cooling off period before they could apply for citizenship in Nepal. As such women were stateless, children of such family were also often found to be without Nepali citizenship because those women from the northeastern India were married to Nepali men, okay, from the Tarai region, okay. So they are to wait for a 7 year cooling off period before applying for Nepali citizenship. And the children born to those mother will be stateless for a considerable period of that time. That is the controversy. However, the new amendment have done away with the cooling off period for these stateless women. This will benefit the children of such family where the mother and children remain stateless for years. This has, however, created a division among the major political parties. The Communist Party of Nepal, unified Marxist-Leninist, want to retain the cooling off period, while the ruling Nepali Congress and the Maoist Party of Pushpa Kamal Dal Prachanda supported the removal of the cooling off period. Despite support from the parties from the Madhesi movement, which advocated greater representation and equal citizenship right for the people of the Tarai region in of Nepal, the inter-ethnic nature of the citizenship dispute has come to the surface because of the controversy triggered by President Vidya Devi's rejection. What is the road ahead for this act? The Nepal Citizenship Struggle Committee held a protest in Kathmandu demanding that President Bhandari should rectify the act that was passed again by the Pratindhi Sabha for the second time. Okay, he should rectify that because this act was passed again by the Pratindhi Sabha. So that somehow in the parliamentary system, if the act, the paper refused by the president is again passed by the parliament, the popular house, the president has to give his consent. So this is what is the demand that the president should this time give it her consent because it has been passed the second time. Okay, they argue that women of Indian origin were deprived of rights because of cooling off period and bureaucratic procrastinations, and the children will be struck in a stateless condition that is not recognized by the president's office. That means there will be stateless persons at the present time. So this is what the controversy is. The next topic that we'll take is hydrogen fuel cell bus. Okay, so this is the new energy. Okay, so Indian Minister of State and Science and Science and Technology, Minister of State's Earth Science, Minister of State's PMO, Personnel, Public Devices, Pension, Atomic Energy and Space, Dr. Jitendra Singh launched India's first truly indigenous developed hydro fuel cell bus developed by KPIT and CSR in Pune. Fine. So the green hydrogen is an excellent clean energy vector that enables decarbonization of different to abate emission or difficult to abate emission from the refining industry, fertilizer industry, steel industry, cement industry, and also from the heavy commercial transport sector. The fuel cell utilizes hydrogen and air to generate electricity to power the bus, and the only effluent from the bus is water, therefore making it possibly the most environmental friendly mode of transportation because what comes out of the bus is H2O, that is water. For comparison, a single diesel bus playing on one long distance route typically emits 100 tons of CO2 annually, and there are over a million such buses running in India. So this can show the magnitude of the pollution released by the public transport system in India. Fine. The high efficiency of fuel cell vehicles and the high energy density of hydrogen ensure that the operational cost in rupees per kilometer of fuel cell tanks and bus are lower than diesel powered vehicles, and this can bring freight revolution in India. That is what is the news. Okay. Fuel cell vehicles also zero greenhouse gas emission. About 12 to 14% of the CO2 emissions and particulate emission comes from diesel powered heavy commercial vehicles, and these are decentralized emissions and hence difficult to capture. Hydrogen fuel vehicles provide an excellent means to eliminate the onboard emission from this sector. By achieving this, India can whole world for being a net importer of energy, fossil energy, to becoming a net exporter of clean hydrogen energy, and thus providing global leadership to India in hydrogen space by becoming a large hydrogen, green hydrogen producer and supplier of the equipment for green hydrogen. The minister also inaugurated the Biosphere A pilot plant in CSR NCL, and these pilot plants have successfully demonstrated novel process technology developed by NCL. Okay, so and CSIR's COVID-19 mission program and a bulk chemical mission program. Fine. Biofencil A is an important feedstock for the production of exploration, polycarbonate, and other engaging plastics. Okay, other engineering plastics. The global market for biosphere A is projected to reach 7.1 million tons by 2010, giving at the CAGR of 2% over the analysis period 2020-2027. The entire estimated annual demand for IT 35 tons in India is imported today. It hoped that the CSR NCL's technology will enable import substitution of this important raw material and help in India's Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay, biosphere A, what it is? BPA. So biosphere A or BPA is a chemical compound, the one of the simplest and the best known bisphenols. Okay, it is produced by the condensation of phenol and acetone with an estimated 4 million tons of uh, produced worldwide in 2008. Okay, in 2015, it is a colorless solid waste with, which is soluble in organic solvents by poorly soluble in water. Both biophenols is a chemical produced in large quantity for use primarily in the production of polycarbonate plastics. It is found in various products such as shutter-proofs windows, iOS, water bottles, epoxy resins, and goat coat some metal for food, bottle tops, and water supply pipes. So it's wide use. Okay, Vaspal A can be leached into food and food and protective natural epoxy resin coating of canned foods and farm consumer products such as polycarbonate tabloid, food storage containers, water bottles, and uh, baby bottles. The degree to which this BPA leaches from polycarbonate bottles into liquid may depend more on the temperature of the liquid bottle, okay, than the age of the container. BPA can also be found in breast milk. BPA is on known endocrine disorder disruptor. Generally, BPA acts as a hormonal level by distorting hormonal balance and inducing exogenic uh, uh, effects, though binding with estrogen related receptors. The resultant effects are numerous, of which hormonal related abnormalities have been mostly reported. Fine. Then the next is on the fuel cell. To continue, the fuel cell is a device that generates electrical power through a chemical reaction by converting fuel hydrogen into electricity. Although fuel cell and battery are both considered electrochemical cells and consist of similar structures, fuel cells requires a continuous source of fuel and oxygen to run, similar to how an internal combustion engine needs a continuous flow gasoline or diesel. A fuel cell needs three main components to create the chemical reaction: an anode, cathode, and electrolyte. First, hydrogen fuel is channelized to the anode via low feed. Hydrogen atoms become ionized, striped up electrons, and now carry only a positive charge. Then oxygen enters to the fuel cell at the cathode, where it combines with the electrons returning from the electrical circuit and the ionized hydrogen atoms. Next, after the oxygen atom pick up the electrons, it then travels through the electrolyte to combine with the hydrogen ion. The combination of oxygen and ionized hydrogen serve as the basis for chemical reaction. At the end of the process, the positively charged hydrogen atoms react with the oxygen to form both water and heat, while creating an electrical charge. In order to provide adequate power, individual fuel cells can be assembled together, forming a stack. A fuel cell stack can be the size of just a right amount of energy for the application, and these fuel cells are being projected as the fuel of the future. Okay, and because they are environmental friendly. Okay, then the next is about the chemical called the forever chemicals. A recent study published in the Environmental Science and Technology has found that rainwater from many places across the globe is contained with pre and polyfluoroalkyl substance (PFS), which are called forever chemicals because of their tendency to stick around in the atmosphere, rainwater, and soil for long period of time. What is PFAS? According to the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the PFAS are man-made chemicals used to make non-stick cookware, water-repellent clothing, stain-resistant fabrics, cosmetics, firefighting foams, and many other products that resist grease, water, and oil. PFAS can migrate to the soil, water, and air during their production and use. Since most PFAS do not break down, they remain in the environment for long period of time. Some of these PFAS can build up in people and animals if they are repeatedly exposed to such chemicals for a longer period of time. What does this PFAS cause? The United States Environmental Protection Agency lists a variety of health risks that are attributed to the PFA exposure, including decreased fertility, developmental effects in children, interference with body hormones, increased cholesterol level, and increased risk of some cancers. Recent research have also revealed that long-term low-level exposure to certain PFAS, but see, long-term low-level exposure to certain PFAS can make it difficult for humans to build antibodies after being vaccinated against various diseases. While the recently published research article did not include studies of samples collected in India, the nature of PFAS and the wide geographical breadth of samples and the nature of PFAS means that the result can be extrapolated to India. How can these chemicals be removed from rainwater? While there is no known method that can extract and remove the PFAS from the atmosphere itself, there are many effective, albeit expensive methods to remove them from the rainwater that has been collected through various rainwater harvesting methods. One way to do this would be to use a filtration system with activated carbon. The activated carbon will need to be removed and replaced regularly. Also, the old contaminated materials must be destroyed. Recently, the EPA research led by William Duxdale and Brittany Tran stumbled first placed a FES compound in a solvent called DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide. Then they mix it with sodium hydroxide. They found that when these mixtures were heated up to boiling temperature, the PFS compound began to degrade. However, this method does not work for all PFS and only work for certain PFS substrates. The next topic that we'll take is about the NAFIS. What is this NAFIS? National Automated Fingerprints Identification System. National Automated Fingerprint Identification System or NAFIS. Indian Home Minister of Minister inaugurated the NAFIS. According to Minister of Home Affairs, NAFIS, which are developed by National Crime Record Bureau, would help in the quick and easy disposal of cases with the help of centralized fingerprint database. In April this year, Madhya Pradesh was the fastest in the country to identify a decreased person through NAFIS. This is person to NAFIS PTI reported. Fine. So this technology is being used by the National Crime Control Bureau to identify the persons. National Automated Fingerprint Identification System. Fine. But in office, conceptualized and managed by the National Crime Record Bureau, the Central Fingerprint Bureau in New Delhi, the National Automated Fingerprint Identification System projects is a country-wide searchable database of crime and crime-related fingerprints. The web-based application functions as a central information repository by consolidating fingerprints data from all states and union territories. According to a 2020 report by the National Crime Control Record Bureau, it enables law enforcement agencies to upload, trace, and retrieve data from the database in real time on a 24/7 basis. NAFIS assigns a unique 10-digit national fingerprint number to each person arrested for a crime. This unique ID will be used for the person's lifetime, and different crimes registered under different FIR will be linked to the same NFL. Okay, National Fingerprint Record. In 2020 report state that the ID first two digit will be that of state code in which the person arrested for a crime is registered followed by a sequence number. Fine. This is important. The first two digit will be the state code where the person has been arrested. By automating the collection, storage, and matching the fingerprints, along with digitizing the record of the fingerprint data, NAFIS will provide the much needed unique identification for every arrested person in the CCTNS, Crime and Criminal Tracking Network and Systems database, and both are connected at the back end. In this, the first time that such an automation project is being attempted. Upon the recommendation of the National Police Commission in 1986, the Central Fingerprint Bureau first began to automate the fingerprint database by digitizing the existing manual records through India's first automated fingerprint identification system in 1992 called Fingerprints Analysis and Crime Tracing System. The latest itinerary FACTS uh, 5.0, which was upgraded in 2007, was considered to have outlived its shelf life according to 2018 report by the NCRB and thus need to be replaced by the NAFIS. Since when was India relying on fingerprints as a crime fighting tool? Because in any crime So the fingerprint is taken first as a reliable tool for identifying the. Okay. Since then, India has delayed fingerprint. Upon this recommendation, the National Police Commission in 1986 and the and the Central Fingerprint Bureau first began to automate the fingerprint database by digitizing the existing manual records through India's first automated fingerprint identification system in 1992 called Fingerprint Analysis and Crime Tracing System. The last interaction facets 50. Okay, since then, so a system of fingerprinting identification first emerged in the colonial India, where it was tested before it spread to Europe and beyond. At first, it was used by the British colonial officials for administrative and criminal procedure. But subsequently, William Herschel, the chief administrator of the Hooghly district of Bengal, from the late middle 1800 onward, used fingerprinting to reduce the fraud and forgery in order to ensure that the correct person was receiving government pensions, signing land transfer deeds, and mortgage bonds. The growing use of fingerprinting was deeply tied to how 19th century British officials understood crime in India. Entire social groups were categorized as racially distinct criminal tribes, and the denotified tribes they are called as the denotified criminal tribes, or popularly as the denotified tribes. They are called as the denotified tribes. uh, to be professional criminals from the time immemorial. However, the trouble that they faced was in identifying these group from the ordinary criminals. Sometimes the British found particularly difficult in such a diverse land. Anthropometry, the measurement of physical features of a body, was used by the officials in India but was soon replaced with a system of fingerprints, which were seen to be more accurate, as it was believed that no two people can have identical sets of patterns, wrote the historian Simon A. Cool in his book Suspect Identities, History of Fingerprinting and Criminal Identification. That is what, so from the British days, this fingerprint is being used as a criminal tracking system or criminal identification system in the country. How did the use of fingerprint develop in the crime fighting in India? The uniqueness of every individual's fingerprint was first proposed in Europe by the German anatomist Johann Mayer in 1788 and was confined through the detailed study by the Scottish Dr. Henry Fowle around the same time that Herschel has begun to implement fingerprinting as a means of identification in Bengal. Tracing a single set of fingerprints from a large collection of fingerprints cards required a workable system of classification. The historian Radhika Singha noted in 2000 research articles settle, mobilize, verify, identification practice in colonial India. While similar attempts are made in England and beyond, the Bengal police were able to create fingerprints record which replaced the use of anthropometric measurement by 1897, when the world's first fingerprint bureau was established in Kolkata 4 years before the similar decision taken in England. Means fingerprint was first implemented in India in the British period. Okay. The Inspector General of the Bengal Police, Edward Henry, recruited two Indian sub-inspectors, Ajilul Haq and H.C. Bose for this task. According to Singla, it was Haq who first devised a system of primary classification and a system of indexing name in court conviction registers. Henry, however, declined to acknowledge the crucial contribution of these Indian subordinates. when he presented the so-called Henry System classification in England from 1901 and established a fingerprint bureau in Scotland Yard. It was only in 1925 that Henry admitted the individual's efforts of Hawke and Bose to the system classification, for which the colonial state bestowed them the title of Khan Bahadur and Rai Bahadur respectively for their contribution. That means the fingerprinting is an Indian innovation to the global uh, criminal identification system. Fine. So let's see the MCQs for today. Coming to question number one, uh, bisphenol A or BPA. A cause of concern is a structure key component in the manufacture of polycarbonate. It is a chemical. Okay, with a plus kind of plastic. Then two, with reference to fuel cells in which hydrogen-rich fuel and oxygen are used to generate electricity, consider the following statement. If pure hydrogen is used as a fuel, the fuel cell emits heat and water as a byproduct. That is correct. Fuel cell can be used for empowering buildings and not for small devices like the laptop computers. It can also. Fuel cell produce electricity in the pump AC. No, it is the DC, not AC. Project Panoptic recently seen in news is facial recognition technology. Okay, used by the Delhi police. As in the following statement with respect to National Crime Record Bureau. It is a non-statutory body and responsible for collecting and analyzing crime data as defined by Indian Penal Code. It functions the Ministry of Home Affairs. It is the implementing and monitoring agency for implementation of the crime and criminal tracking network system or CCTNS. Okay, so all are correct statements. Then with reference to India, consider the following statement. There is only one citizenship for and one domicile in India. A citizen by birth only can become the head of the state. No, anyone. A foreigner once granted citizenship cannot be deprived of it under any circumstances. Yes, if he is not following the citizenship rules, so he will be deprived of. So only one is right and two and three are incorrect. Coming to question number 6, the Henry system of classification often mentioned in news is related to fingerprint classification. Fine, because fingerprints in India was developed in the British colonial period. Okay, then the article named Settle, Mobilize, Verify Identification Practice in Colonial India, written by Radhika Singha. Okay, with reference to National Automated Fingerprint Identification System (NAFIS). That is the following: NAFIS assign a unique national fingerprint number to each person arrested for a crime, which is valid for a lifetime of that person. That's correct. Okay. NAFIS consists of 10 digits with two numbers. The first two numbers are state code in which the person is arrested, and the following numbers are representing the it represents a subsequent thing. So 2 is incorrect. Consider the following statement with reference to pre and per polyfluoroalkyl substance (PFS). It is a man-made chemical used to make non-stick cookware and water-repellent clothing. Most of the PFS substances do not break down, so they remain in environment for long duration, and they can also lead to bioaccumulation. All the three are correct in case of question number 9. Then Madhesi are the people of Indian origin who are staying in the Tarai region of Nepal, and so Indian government support them in because they are the persons of Indian origin. Okay, so they have their so they are now staying in the India Nepal border called the Tarai region of Nepal. Okay, and recent classification, so they were denied of the basic rights. Okay, so that's why they are in. Okay, so Partner recently news is in the ICRE. India's first electric double-decker bus was launched in Mumbai. Okay, and you see electric bus was started running. So the hydrogen bus, it's called this electric bus. Also started running in Bhubaneswar under the Mobus. The government started launching electric bus. Okay, recently Australian scientists but This double-decker electric bus started running in Mumbai. Recently, Australian scientists decided to de-extinct a Sumerian tiger. Okay, which is following methods can be used to de-extinct an extinct or endangered animal. Okay, so cloning is a method, genome editing is a method, selective breeding is a method, and somatic cell nuclear transfer is also another method. So all these methods can be used for, you can say, de-extinct the endangered animals. Which of the following statement is about the objective of the PM Kusum? PM Kusum is a program for the farmers to use solar power in their agricultural field for drinking, means drawing water from the irrigation points, as well as they can, and they can also be able to sell the surplus power to the state grid. Okay, but understand by economic terms stagflation, when there is inflation along with unemployment or stagnation in the economy. There is inflation which is high, and along with that there is uh, inflation, and there is stagnation in the economy. So combination of high inflation and stagnation is called as stagflation. Okay, it is very poor situation in an economy of a country. Recently, the OSDREB1C seen in news is a rice gene. Okay, Mithila Makhan, it is a type of Makhan. Okay, so it is from Bihar. Okay, and question number, belt and road initiative by China, by which it want to link Asia with Central Asia, with Europe and Africa. Okay, so this is the program of China called the OBOR, or Belt Road Initiative, and this Pakistan China Economic Corridor is part of this OBOR. Fine. So here China want to build physical infrastructure in the form of roadway, railway, and waterway in the ancient Silk Route and the Chinese Silk Route. Okay. Then the global strategy on human resources for health workforce 2030 is based on which the following declaration is the received political declaration which contain this. Then coming to 20, meteorological department defines cloudburst as very heavy rainfall over a localized area at a very high rate of order of 10 cm per hour over a 10 to 10 kilometer radius. Okay, and if it is in 5 cm within that period, so it is also comes under the cloud burst. And cloud bursts are increasing right now, which are causing enormous problem. Okay, so because due to climate change, the incident of cloud burst is increasing over many areas and putting threat. Okay, so this ends our discussion on today's current affairs. Keep on watching so to enrich yourself. Thank you.